for change echo in Georgia. Inside this courthouse, details about Ahmaud Arbery's alleged killers reveals Travis McMichael's and William Bryan's use of the N-word. Georgia legislators proposed scrapping the state's 19th century citizens arrest law. It initially shielded the suspects in Arbery's death for 2 months.
This wasn't an accident or self-defense, but this was hatred that was motivating this action.
We have to address the officers who are seemingly with impunity using excessive force, explaining it away in a way that's offensive and intellectually dishonest. And that right now is the fire that needs to be put out.
There's a preview of some of the voices that you'll be hearing, but the main voice you're going to be hearing is the host of the program, and it's Court TV's own Julia Janae, crime and justice reporter and host of Black and Blue, the special. Julia, this is an issue, and the special I know goes through the history of all this, but this issue has been around for a long time. A long, long time. Many people say way too long. What's happening now that is changing things, that is changing the discussion and the volume of the discussion?
Vinny, in particular, there are these cases that we can't ignore. They're cases that we cover here on Court TV, and it has been happening since May that people are really taking notice of the Ahmaud Arbery case, the Breonna Taylor case, and of course George Floyd. And that has really ignited a revamp of the Black Lives Matter movement, and we are seeing more protesting, peaceful protests in these communities, and it's something that we wanted to take a closer look through our lens here at Court TV, looking at the criminal justice system, looking at the laws, and how it connects our past, our present, and what's going to happen in our future.
And you said, you know, reignites. I mean, we've been here before. What do you think is making it different this time around?
You know, there's frustration. It has been building over time, but at this point, of course, we're in COVID-19, in a pandemic right now. A lot of people have more eyes on what's happening, and I think these news stories are really making people see that there's a consistent problem here that needs to be addressed, and it's driving people to the streets to really make their voice known in a time that I think they know that everyone is watching and paying attention. And we talked to our experts that we brought in to weigh in on this topic, those in law, those in history, those in the criminal justice system, and they each have a very interesting opinion on why the movement is happening the way it is and what they think is going to be the path forward. One of those, UC Berkeley professor of African American Studies, Charles Henry, weighs in and talks about how this compares to the civil rights movement. Take a listen.
When you see the tremendous response, you know, we didn't have people in Wyoming and Montana complaining about that video footage or those still photos of Birmingham at that point, not the video footage. We didn't have the protest in other countries, from Kenya and Japan to, you know, to England and Germany, you know, we didn't see the diversity of protesters. And there were always young people involved in the civil rights protests, but to see the diversity of protesters participating in that gives you some hope that maybe in another 50 years we won't see those kinds of images.
Professor Henry, one of the many voices that you'll hear from in this special, who are going to talk about not only the history and showing us that connection through time of some of the laws that we have on the books today that date back to those times, but also the legislation that is being attempted to be passed here right now in our Capitol buildings all across the country.
I know everyone, including yourself, obviously working very hard at Court TV and putting this all together. So give us sort of a preview of some of the concepts and the ways that we're going to talk about these issues and tell these stories.
Well, we're going to break it down for people. We are going to start with the past, look at the present, and then we will look towards the future. And we're going to be taking a very close look at how people of color, how the African American community has been policed, not just by law enforcement, but also by everyday citizens, and where that comes